What's going on, you good humans? Welcome to guest episode 213 of Good Humans Podcast with a guy who's a great friend of mine, and I'm so bloody pumped to share his story. I know you guys are going to really be touched by this one. His name's Brayden Ainsworth. So he was an ex-AFL player. He played 15 games at the top level for the West Coast Eagles and had a really cool career, but obviously didn't quite get to what he hoped of and what he dreamed of. But I mean, for me, just making the AFL is such a huge achievement that any kid growing up playing AFL, I'm sure, wants to play in that big league. So really cool to hear his journey into the career. But also the thing that's going to really stand out to all of you guys in this episode is his struggles with his mental health, but particularly with body image and with an eating disorder. It was really special for Brayden to open up and be vulnerable in this episode and share, the challenges he's gone through. He shared some things throughout this chat that he hasn't shared before. So I'm so grateful that he got really vulnerable with me to help all of you guys listening. Hopefully, if you're going through any challenges, you feel a little less alone for hearing Brayden's stories. If you are struggling with an eating disorder and it's not the right time to listen right now, then maybe come back to this episode at another time. Or if you are struggling with your mental health and you are in crisis, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14 and they can be there to help you out. If you do enjoy today's episode, make sure you share it with someone, put it on your Instagram story, send it on to your family group chat, because I know this really can benefit a lot of people, this episode. It really touched me, and I'm sure it's going to touch so many of you. Give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the podcast. All of that stuff really helps us out, and would love to see it in so many more ears. Also, if you want to learn more about the wellbeing workshops that I run, you can head over to thegoodhumanfactory.com, find out all about that, whether it's a corporate group, a high school group, or a sporting club. We do them all. Also, this new merch that I'm wearing right now, if you're watching on YouTube, is on store online right now at thegoodhumanfactory.com. Use the code podcast for a big 25% off. Also, it was really cool. We spoke in Brayden's story about what he's doing now after football, and it's bloody cool. He's doing some really similar stuff to me, working for a mental health organisation and charity over in Western Australia called the Happiness Co. He runs workshops helping young people, take better care of their mental health. So we had such a similarity and such an aligned chat on this one, and I know you guys are going to love it. That's enough from me. Let's jump into the episode. Sweet as. We're finally doing it. Welcome to Good Humans Podcast. Brayden Ainsworth. How you going, mate?
Very good. Mate, I'm very grateful to be on. I'm excited to see where it goes in the chat, but most importantly, man, just keen to have a chat with you. It's exciting.
Absolutely. We've known each other for a couple of years now. I guess we connected on social media, both working in the world of mental health. You're one of the lead facilitators at the Happiness Co., which we're going to talk plenty about later in this chat. You've had an incredible career in the AFL. You played for the West Coast Eagles on the big stage, which is really cool. But you've got a pretty interesting story around mental health as well, which you've told me you're happy to kind of go into today, which obviously is pretty important, especially with a lot of stuff going on in the AFL world at the moment. There's been a couple suicides recently, which is just absolutely tragic. So I think this conversation is really important to have. But what I'm going to ask you to start off is, what are you grateful for right now, today in life?
Mate, honestly, I'm grateful for a lot of things in life, but first of all, be here on this podcast. But mate, we'll probably get into it, but thinking back, and we had a conversation earlier, I'm grateful for the ability to feel calm in your presence. And I mean that, like a wholehearted way, because of the conversation that we had on a run when we first met in the Gold Coast. And it's something that I'm very grateful. It's connections in my life mean a lot to me, and to have people that I can just open up to and feel safe with within the space of just talking to them and connecting with them. So, that's nothing to pump your tires up too much, mate. But you give a sense of calmness, love, care, empathy, but in a nurturing way. And I guess we'll get into that when we talk about how we first met and how that actually came about, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's, I think it's just having empathy and having, the curiosity to not judge. And that's where I feel like that conversation we had last year was really special. I'll give a bit of context for everyone. So Brayden is a mad runner as well. Really runs far more than me now. But when I was in my Running Man era back last year, training for my 100-kilometre ultra marathon, Brayden came over to the East Coast. We're in Western Australia right now while I'm over here on a bit of a tour. But Brayden was over on the East Coast, and we caught up for a couple runs. Hey, you did we did. But the first one we went for was just me and Brayden, and yeah, it was really nice. We did like, I think 10Ks or something through the trails, but we had a good conversation. We just kept chatting, and you opened up to me about your eating disorder that you'd struggled with. And you told me later that you hadn't really spoken to too many people about that. And now you have shared it a lot more. You were on the media recently with the ABC sharing about your eating disorder. And I think it's so important, so courageous of you to share in that wide sort of realm that is the media, but to, be one of the first people that you got to open up with. I just feel so privileged that you did feel safe enough to do that. And, it seems like it's going to really open up that conversation for so many people. And, eating disorders are quite misunderstood, I think, especially for men. I mean, you asked me probably 10 years ago, before I did have probably the empathy and curiosity that I do now, and you'd probably get this too, and people would be like, just eat something.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. But we're going to get through your story and go through the different I guess not levels, but the different stages of your eating disorder throughout your life, and where you're at now with it. But let's go back to the start. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing. What was life like as a kid, siblings, family life? What sort of values were instilled in you, growing up?
Firstly, mate, you didn't tell me what you were grateful for.
Oh, what am I grateful for?
Yeah,
I'm grateful for being over here in WA. I haven't spent too much time over in Western Australia. I came here a few times in my teen years. When I was 14, I won an Australian title at Margaret River, which was really cool in the under 16. So it was really nice to go back to Margaret River earlier in the week to deliver some workshops for Margaret River High School and a few other local schools. And then I actually came back when I was like 17 for my first ever, is called the Prime Series back then, but what is now the Challenger Series. So it was my first big major global sort of opens event was at Margaret River too. So two very big parts of my career, but that was 13 years ago. And then I'd come back to Perth once for just a quick 2-day work trip where I delivered a workshop for a corporate client over here and went to the State of Origin. But other than that, not much time in WA. So I'm grateful to be here and, check out the town here in Fremantle where we are right now. And some really cool people, and just been nice to get to check out the West a little bit. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Love that. It's the Freo vibe's a bit like where you were living, well, until you moved, I reckon, like the markets, Freo markets and the farmers. So sort of your crew, I reckon. But yeah, mate, if we go back to the start, was lucky, man, I had a great childhood in terms of the location I lived in and family and friends. I was in Esperance, which is a 7-hour drive south of Perth. So some of the best beaches growing up, that was our backyard. Literally with my two brothers, grew up with them, and along with, my parents split when I was real young. So, it was, the school term was in Esperance, and then holidays were spent in a little town in Rockingham, if you want to search that place up, which is an interesting place. But
older or younger brothers?
Older, so both older than me.
Yeah.
18 months, and then my other brother's about 4 years older.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so grew up with them, and then with my dad and stepmom, and spent a lot of time growing up. My dad was FIFO, so a lot of time with my stepmom and a lot of time with my auntie and nan and pop, and it was just, I had a big female presence more than male presence in my life, and I think that's where growing up around that you can talk about this masculine, feminine sort of stuff, which I'll get into later on. But
I've got 3 sisters. I grew up in a very feminine household.
So I think being around that, I was always in a pretty calm environment, and was always in a very supportive place too, and that was really nice. And then my sister came along when I was about 10 years old, which is pretty cool. So got a little sister who's 10 years younger, and she's amazing. And we were until I moved away, we were so tight, and spent a lot of time together. And then my 3 best mates from back home, we've always been a little tight group that grew up together since we were year 5 or 6, mate. We just stayed together, and I guess outside that, it was, literally, because you're in a country town, we were playing all sports, we'll go on the beach, mucked around at school.
Everyone knows everyone.
Exactly. So I was in I think that's where the community and the empathy and, curiosity of just being how connected everyone can be, and just the old, it was a big change when I moved to Perth at the end of high school. When you walk down the street, you don't know anyone, and you walk in and you give the old "how you going" or smile, and people look at you a bit different, a bit weird. So, that in Esperance was so nice and comfortable to grow up in. And then, along that though, you had challenges, but I'm a country kid that just loved playing his sport and whole mix of sports, but also just hanging out with me best mates.
Tell me about high school. Did you go to high school down there in a small country town? And also, what was your introduction into footy, or for my East Coasters, AFL?
Yeah, so started like Auskick, which is you can start when you're 5 or 6 years old, and just followed in my brothers and my dad's footsteps really. So I did the Auskick at a younger age, and then as soon as my dad was coaching my brother, and basically as soon as he started coaching like the lowest level of actual football, I was like hanging around to fill in and play. I just loved the game so much, and that was, I guess, where I fell in love for that. And then high school was all Esperance. I didn't move to Perth until after year 12, and like all my high school years there, and struggled through high school through different challenges, and didn't really enjoy the process of what it was about, but just did it for, I guess, something to do. But my main enjoyment of life was outside the 9 till 3 of school, and it was mainly just diving into sport, footy, cricket, soccer, everything like that. That was my love and passion, and I guess on the side things was going to school for me.
What, if you don't mind sharing, what were some of those challenges that you faced in high school?
So I always had low self-esteem and no self-confidence, and that was off the back of basically because I was really overweight and got picked on and bullied for that sort of stuff. And then when you become someone that plays into those stories and beliefs and the victim mentality, I flipped that and became a pretty horrible person to be around, and started to put that pain onto other people. And that's all when I think back now, that's all the memories I have of school, is getting bullied or bullying other people, doing things that anyone else wanted me to do, and then picking subjects in year 11 and 12 because my mates were doing it. And I was always finding that when I was with my close mates, I just felt free and liberated and love and care and like passion and energy. And then when I was with certain people, like I just, in my school year or doing certain things, I just felt so drained and unenergized, and that's where the stories would come through, especially in high school. And I guess I didn't know how to escape that because of the want to be popular, to be seen, loved, heard, all those sort of things. And I guess at the time I didn't realize it, and facing all that, and then that's where the eating disorder started to come in, because I didn't know how to deal. I didn't know how to open up and talk and express the feelings, emotions, and all these, I guess, stories I was telling myself that I was going through. And I was like, what do I do with it? How do I release it? How do I explain it? How do I talk about it without being seen as a girl? Because stereotypically out there, girls only go through body image and eating disorders. Young men don't go through it, or men go through it. Or so trying to comprehend that and explain that to myself, that no, you're just overweight. There's nothing wrong. You're okay. But then every time you look yourself in the mirror when you're naked and about to have a shower, and you start to cry and hate this person that you see, but no understanding of why and no understanding of how to talk about it, starts to really bottle up. And football and sport was my real only outlet in a positive way, I would say. That's why it was so important to me.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, man, because it's so under represented, I think, young boys, young men with eating disorders, and especially, being overweight at a young age. It must be so tough. And like you said, like looking at yourself in the mirror and just, having those tears in your eyes and being like, why am I like this? And not having really the resources or the support around you to do something about it. What were you pretty good at footy as a young age? Like, were you doing quite well in footy, or was that eating disorder and the overweight affecting your footy? Because, to make the AFL, you've got to be in a bloody elite bunch. So was there like a turning point where you went, you know what, I'm going to really work on bringing myself back down to a weight that's going to make me excel in my sport as well? Or talk me through that transition.
Yeah, so I used to be, it's funny, man, like I love running, and when I was in, waffle and AFL, I was, like really good runner. But when I was younger, I was just a stay-at-home full forward. So I just used to like literally just sit in the square, and because I couldn't move, I couldn't run. And one highlight I have is we had to do a 2-lap time trial. So it would have been like a K time trial when I was in like under 14s or 16s. And mate, I came last by like, I reckon it was like 500, 700 meters, man. Like over like 2 laps. And I knew how unfit I was there. And then I got bullied for that. But then it was so hard to comprehend, because like I was kicking bags of goals. Like, if that was because no one could get around me or whatever, but like I still was pretty skillful and could take a really good mark, and I guess that helped. But then all these like squads, so it might be for the East Coasters, you know, if you're playing NRL, you've got like the like Storm and State Cups, and they've got their development squads. So over here in Perth, you've got the league under the AFL where each club in the waffle has zones within WA, which your club goes to.
Yeah, feeding clubs kind of thing.
Yeah, so one of those was Subiaco, and that was mine. And all we wanted to do was go away to carnivals and things like that. And I'd go away to these carnivals as a junior going up, and then Country Week for school, and like, I'd go okay. And then it wasn't until I got a little bit, I guess, taller and started to thin out a little bit. And then, man, I just went through this phase where I just got up every day and did 3 things. And that was exercised every day, change what I was eating, because as you'd know, it's not just about, you know, how much it affects how lean and skinny you are, but it's also how much it affects your mood and things like that. And then one of the most powerful things that's all you talk about is gratitude. And that's where I learned gratitude. And I guess those 3 things, getting up every day and exercising and moving my body, then eating well, and then practicing gratitude. Like, that self-belief sort of came in. And
was there anyone that kind of taught you that, or was it just sort of a moment that just clicked for you, or was there, you know, a mentor or a key person that kind of gave you that encouragement?
Not until I got into year 11. So this sort of happened through year 10. And that year would have been like my first year of under 18s football. So when I was like 16 or 17. And having worked through that, like, I remember I'd get up in the morning, I'd chuck me headphones that had the cord in, and mate, the playlist was like heavy metal, because I was just like, and I'd hate heavy metal, and I would like out the door, same loop, those sort of memories. And then I started to eat well, and it was all off the back of, like, all I wanted to do was play AFL, man. Like, I just had this thing, I'm going to play it. And then it came from proving people wrong too, that said I was no good and not good enough for these development squads. And that's all I wanted to do. Like, so I just was like, all right, what are my role models? Who are they in my life? And I was like, well, they're all like sports stars, because I was so locked in. And I was like, what are they doing? They're fit, they're healthy. I was like, all right, that's what I want to do. And then I got fitter, taller, stronger as well, which helped. And then that going into that year 11, year 12 footy seasons, I had a coach who just came back from the waffle, you know, and you don't do a pre-season in country football. You just rock up 3 weeks before.
Is waffle
and
like
start.
VFL for WA?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Exact same thing. And so he came back and he umpired that year in year 10 and was like, I reckon this kid could maybe go to Perth. And he was the only one that ever believed in me. And he's like, mate, do you want to do some like a pre-season? I was like, yeah, we can do a pre-season. Thinking we'll start like in February or something. And he goes, all right, cool. I'll pick you up at 6:30 this Sunday and we'll start. And this was in like November, December. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean?
When you're in like year 11.
Yeah, year 11.
Coaches.
Yeah, and he picks me up and we drive out to this windmill farm, which is back home in Esperance. And it's like straight uphill, around the loop, down and up, and he timed me. And that was our first session. Then from then on, we did stuff every Sunday, and then it progressed. We'll box him, we'll like run him, and he was joining in with me, even though he's...
What's his name? What a legend.
Yeah, Kingsley Hutchinson, man. He was...
Shout out Kingsley.
Yeah, biggest mentor of mine that like really changed.
Some goosebumps, eh? Those people that just
Yeah,
give
like,
you a shot and look at you through a different lens and give you... Yeah.
Yeah, and especially from a country town, like you hear these stories of like, oh, you're from the country, you're never going to make it, you're disadvantaged. And this guy's like, nah, mate, it's bull crap. Like, you can make it if you really want. And then he just worked with me, and then he coached me. And that year we just worked like so hard in year 11, and then into year 12. We built a real big bond, because he was my footy coach in Colts and under 18s, and had a really good season. Then that's where went away for more carnivals, got more recognition, because I got into some, some whatever the teams are, like the best representative teams, and then for country stuff. And then all of a sudden, he was the dude that made the contacts, because Subi still didn't want me. They're like, nah, this guy's not good enough. He's not going to make it. We don't want him. So he was calling all these other clubs. He was calling the Waffle Commission like, look, Subi don't want him, so can we get him?
What's Subi there?
Subi Echo's like my zone.
Yeah.
And normally you got to pay money for people to change. like until you get to like 20 or 21. And he's like, they don't want him, don't stop his opportunity, like all this stuff.
Sick.
And then he was driving me to Perth to trainings, and mate, this guy was, I owe him so much. Like,
what a legend.
And so to have someone like that built my own self-belief, own self-confidence, from putting in the work and then the evidence.
Yeah.
And like we were, going up. This is what I mean by school was just in the background, like because we'll go up during the season, watch some waffle games. We'd leave on Thursday, we'd try and play, like all that stuff, and like school was just something to do day to day.
Yeah. Tell me about finishing school then. What's the transition from finishing school to making the AFL?
So yeah, left school, worked over summer back home, and moved up in like March of 2016.
Yeah. Up to Perth,
up to Perth. One of those three best mates I talked about earlier. We just lived in his house, me and him, in their parents' house in Perth. And mate, I was at Perth Footy Club for 3 weeks during this like transition period if Sue were going to let me go or not. And then I got a phone call from the league coach, Jared Schofield, said, mate, you're either coming to us or you're not going to play waffle this year because I'm not letting you go. I want you to play for us. And hearing that was like, okay, like I'm wanted here. And then he goes, but you're not playing Colts, you're playing seniors with us. I want you to play with us. So I was like, oh, all right, cool. And had to go there. And I remember getting that call. I was at a little water park, which is Adventure World over here. And I like literally packed up, like just paid, walked in the door, turned around, left, and went to training. And that was pretty much the start. I was around a few other Esperance people, but the club at the time was one of the like most successful clubs in the era at that point. And I guess being around like-minded people, but driven, disciplined people taught me so much. And my football season started off like 2 games where I had like 6 and 7 touches. So I didn't touch the ball. And then as those beliefs came in, you're never going to get drafted, not good enough, this sort of stuff. And I was like, what do I do? I just want to get picked up and drafted because that was the dream. And then I went back and played Colts footy, which is under 19s here in WA. And mate, I had 6 really good games and ended up making the state team as an overage pick. And then from there, I've had a really good carnival, stats wise and game wise, and got in the All-Star team there. And then literally came back, finished the season off. And mate, I was an 18-year-old, didn't know anything about state programs, didn't know anything about how clubs contact you, managers, and all of a sudden, like people at Subi, like, mate, this club wants to meet with you, this manager wants to meet with you, and I'm just like what's going on? I just want to play footy, like. And then they were trying to tell me you gotta have a meeting here, and I'm like, no, I got training to go to, like things like that. Like I was so naive, and it was a roller coaster because it literally happened and got picked up. I moved to Perth in March and got drafted in November of 2016.
Wow, so you just had a blinder of a year and it all took off. And then, so how does the AFL draft work? Do you have to like put your name in the draft, or is it just the draft happens and then? No,
you got to nominate. So, like all these clubs were ringing up Colin and stuff like that. And I still didn't believe I was good enough to still get drafted. Like I even went over to draft camp, which only like the top 50 or 60 prospects go to that. And I got to play on AFL grand final day through that. Like it was like one of the craziest, I guess, 8-9 months of football in my life. Never travelled to like Melbourne and stuff, and that year travelled like 3 times, all for footy and stuff. And then you have these meetings, and then you literally just put your name in the draft. You just go online. Anyone can do it. Yeah. But you could go in. I
wonder if I get picked.
Yeah, like, well, that's the thing. Like, you never know. They might accidentally pick the wrong Rob Cooper, and then all of a sudden, Cooper's running around for Gold Coast or Brisbane. But so it's like, and that's all it is. You just nominate yourself, and then you're sitting on the couch watching TV and hoping your name comes up. And
so who picked you? And tell me about that moment. Where were you when your name came out in the draft? How far into the draft were you picked?
So I was back home in Esperance, went there and had like a few friends and family over, but nothing too big. I didn't, like, my manager like never told me. He's like, because he hated telling people because he'd seen stories before.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Yeah, and like the first manager that I was potentially going to sign with, he's like, oh, you might get picked up, you might not, you might go on the rookie, like, and I was like, oh, that's where the belief was like, there's no way then. And then my new manager's like, mate, you've got a fair few clubs looking at you, but let's just see what goes on. And then sitting on the couch, mate, friends, family over and watching, and pick 32. West Coast did extra time, so you can ask for extra time to bid. Because I don't know, but Sydney were the next pick, and I had a feeling, and my manager had a feeling that they were going to pick me up potentially, but West Coast took extra time and then decided to pick me at 32.
Second round?
Second round, yeah.
Sick.
A bit of a draft bust by the end of it, but second round pick, and pick 32 and get that phone call, or your name comes up, man. It's one of the best feelings, when they have extra time. I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, would this be me? Because I knew Sydney was next, and then, mate, it comes up and it's seeing your name on the screen and hear it read out was like that feeling. Is one of the hardest feelings to feel again, I think.
Body,
mate, it was incredible because you just never expect that your dreams were realistically going to come true. And that moment, my dream to be on AFL list came true. The end dream hadn't come true yet, but I was halfway there. And
is West Coast or Freo your team?
Before,
but who did you support?
I was more Freo because, mate, I was I'm a Ben Cousins diehard freak fan, mate. Growing up, I love Benny, and then Cuzzy and Coxie, and
because someone told me last night that if you go for Freo, you hate West Coast.
Mate,
so then West Coast picked you.
It was it was mad. I not hated Freo, but I didn't like Freo. My pop and my
so Ben Cousins was West Coast.
Yeah,
you always loved West Coast.
Yeah, always loved West Coast.
Sick.
Yeah,
so you were when they picked you, you're
yeah. My number, I always wore in juniors, number 9 off Cuzzy. I loved Cuzzy, but for some real reason I loved Coxie as well. He's a big ruckman. So following those, and then when Gold Coast came in, mate, I flipped because Cuzzy was sort of done, and then he went to Richmond, and then all my sort of faves were sort of gone from West Coast. So I was like, I'm going to go for the new team. So I just started following Gold Coast, and then from there, I sort of fizzled out because I just started following players and that sort of stuff. But mate, when you get that phone, and then you get the phone call saying, hey,
the president of West Coast?
We'd have had Simo. But, mate, the coolest thing ever, bro. And I still get, it's just the best feeling. I got a few, sports role models, which I talked about. One of them is Justin Langer. Mate, I idolise this guy. And I get a message, hey, mate, congratulations, welcome to West Coast. Can't wait to meet you, Justin Langer. And I was like...
Cricketer,
bro, because he's on the board.
Oh, no way.
One of the best that ever played for sure. And I was looking at my phone Dad, Charles messaged me. I was over the moon, bro. And then you get messages from the players and stuff. But
sick.
That is the one message, man, that I was just I can't wait to meet this guy. JL, and then I knew Sam Mitchell was there.
Yeah.
And he was another one that I loved. And yeah, man, that night was epic. And that was on a Friday, and I'm training on Monday.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. So you driving up
drove straight back up to Perth on Saturday.
Did you already live up in Perth?
Already,
so you're living there and then bang, just straight up. Because, if you got picked in an East Coast team, you would have been on a flight.
Yeah, would have been gone,
It's crazy.
So I literally drove up and we had a meeting with me, Liam Ryan, and then a few other staff. Because me and Liam Ryan were both at Subi together. And we just went to Dome Cafe in Subi and... picked our numbers, and then mate, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock at training. I was like, sweet, let's go.
So tell me about that first year. Did you get any game time, your first year on the squad, or how talk me through your AFL career? Because it's an interesting one. You look at your career, because I've know you a little bit, and I've seen sort of the games that you played and whatnot. Some would look at it and be like, oh, he kind of didn't have the career that you probably would have dreamed of. But I also compare it to my surf career. I never made it to the top 32 in the world, and I can look back my whole life and say I failed.
Yeah.
But I choose to look back and go, I won. I traveled the world surfing for a long time. You got to travel the country with the team, playing at the top level in the biggest stadiums in the country. Tell me at the time how you felt your career went and how it was running on the field for your first AFL game.
Yeah, I'll start second. Running on the field for the first. I remember my first day in. You walk in and Josh Kennedy, big Josh Kennedy, one of the best players to ever play for West Coast, getting a little rub down, And I'm like walking in, I was starstruck, mate. Like couldn't
19.
speak. Yeah, like could not speak. And I was like, this is insane. And then you meet like Sam Mitchell, one of your idols, as a footballer, and same thing. Like I was like, this is insane. I'm walking around rubbing shoulders with some of the best players to ever played a game. But then I had a really good preseason and ended up starting the waffle season off well that year and debuted against GWS. And mate, you know, you talk about my career, and I played like 14 or 15 games and things like that. And it's not a massive thing, but and people talk about, oh, what's it like playing in front of big crowds and that. Like, mate, my first game I played against GWS, there was 8,000 people there. Like, it was just like you're at a waffle grand final. It was my career sort of, I guess, started off not like with a big bang either. So I sort of never really. It's hard when you think back. Like I didn't really play in front of too many big crowds either. So I didn't have the massive experience of playing like in front of like 80, 90, 1,000 people either. So when I look back on my career now, and like you said, like I always, until a year ago, was never proud of it, never could be happy or satisfied. But now, like as we had a conversation before, like I was 5 years old when I had this dream and I got to live my dream. Like I got to step on the AFL field and, you know, my first ever game at GWS, I had the first touch of the game. And that probably structured the rest of my career because I kicked it on my opposite foot and grubbed it on the ground. But like to have that experience and the Gatorade shower and you never get those moments back, like your first game. And it was one of the best moments, like and experiences I've ever had. And then, you know, I got to play 3 games end of that year and was emergency for 4 of the grand finals, all the finals and then the grand final. And, you know, doing the parade with the team and doing
captain's run. In the team when you guys won the grand final?
Yeah, that was my first year. Yeah.
No way. So you're in the squad when you won the grand final. Didn't play in the grand final, but still, you still probably got did you get a ring or anything?
So there's that's the thing, like 22 players play, then there's 4 emergencies that are like close to playing. Yeah. And I was a part of that. And then, so that's 26 in the squad. Yeah, but
you're there training with the team all week before the game. Yeah. You're like ready
to
do
everything, man. Like, and you literally fly with a team.
Grand final winning team.
That's it's sick, bro. And like, then there's 20 blokes that don't play and they're not even staying at the same hotel as you. So like, and then...
also there's 20 more
20 more players, that are just like, their season's done. So they're just like sinking beers and celebrating already. And then we rock up, we do the parade, we do all those things, meetings, and then game starts and like you're downstairs, the boys are warming up, you're flicking them footies, like, and one of the coolest experiences I look back on now is when the boys were running out the change rooms, I got to like walk behind them because if someone got injured, like I was running down in the warm up on field, I was running down, put my boots on and going out and playing.
Yeah.
So until the ball bounced, I was like standing, like there's turf around the MCG and I'm standing there, man, like just looking around like, oh.
That's what I was about to say. Did you get to play a game at the G?
I never got to play an AFL game at the G, but I played before the AFL Grand Final when Richmond bet GWS or Adelaide. I think it was Adelaide, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, so that was cool. I still got to play
that you
there.
were on the sideline as a reserve in case someone got hurt of a grand final at the G. Like, fuck, that's so cool, man.
And then just this, like, and then obviously you think like you win and your team wins a grand final that year. You're like, man, AFL's going to be easy. I'm going to get in and I'm going to break in and I'm going to win an AFL grand final. This is how easy it is.
So that was when you're 19, like 20, 20. Wow.
19 years old and I was like, and then it all sort of, man, I had an experience for the next few years,
Yeah, what was that, next few years, like getting to just a couple games here or there each year, just never quite, what do you feel is missing from getting to, you know, make it into that, like, the full-time squad for the team?
Like, if I look back, like, my skills weren't amazing. Like, I couldn't really, like, my kick was a little bit off, right? So I always got heckled for that. But, mate, if all honesty, what I really think held me back was this eating disorder that came at the end of that year.
Yeah.
And then the self-belief and self-confidence. Yeah. Mate, like, even at training, I was like, I'm not as good as these guys. Like, you know, Luke Shuey's better than me. Elliot Yo's pushing me around. But I also put myself in a box as like, you can run and you're fit and then you're really good at clearances with your hands. And that was all I just boxed myself in. And then within that, like I went away in the off season because I was like, I'm going to get an advantage. These blokes can all go on holiday. I'm locking in for 8 weeks. But I was dropping my skin folds because I was still getting told I was overweight. I had to come top 5 in the 2K time trial. Like, that was one of my goals, to get like super fit. So I was like, I got to get super lean. And I went away 80 kilos, came back at 70 kilos, like 10 kilos in 8 weeks. And that there just sent me into a really bad year in 2019, because like when you're versing blokes that are, 90, 95 kilos, that's 25 kilos on you, even 10 kilos. You got no energy to train because you're not fueling your body right. But then you're getting pushed around, you got no strength. Like, then when that comes on top, and then you start to ruminate in your head of you're not good enough, you're never going to make it, your skills aren't good enough. Like, that stuff started to really compound over time. And then I was way too scared to talk about it, because you walk into a footy club and, you're talking about either your weight, what you look like, your skin folds, or you're talking about like, I got no self-confidence, no self-belief. Like, how do I talk about this? They're not going to pick me. They think something's going on mentally. I'm shutting down. That was on field. That was within the club. And then outside the club, I had some family things going in that we got dragged into, and then I got dragged into off the back of an AFL player, which didn't help, because then the club got dragged into that as well. And that as well affected, like, I'm like, well, the outside public are thinking that I'm caught up in this thing, which I was the complete opposite. I wasn't caught up in it, didn't do anything that was involved in it, but because I'm an AFL player, then the club got involved, and then, all that sort of stuff. And then I'm thinking, like, what does everyone think about me? Like, what's their perception? What's their judgment? And then I was judging myself, and then I was judging the way I looked. You're too skinny, like all these things, man. Like, that year was a roller coaster, and I don't even think I played a game. Coming off the back of, coming by 1 vote, like I come second in our waffle best and fairest. I played 3 AFL games, and then I was like going on to probably have a pretty good, next year if I played well. And then all these things just started to compound and unravel, and I didn't know how to talk about it. And mate, I was in a bad spot by come the end of that year in 2019. Yeah.
Can we talk about that, just in the fact of the support or lack of support, whether it was there or not, but not being able to, share it, because obviously, with what's going on right now in the AFL, 2 ex-players, taking their own life in the last couple months. Was mental health a conversation at all, or was it just not even really talked about much in the club at that stage?
Mental health wasn't, but mindfulness was, if that makes sense. Yep. So through 2018, we had mindfulness sessions, which I took part in, were unreal, through Mark Nikoski, who was massive into that stuff. And I worked really close with him. But 2019, like, we'd won the flag, and to me, it really felt like, to some players that had won it, was like, oh, we hit the pinnacle, like we're at Everest, what do we do now? But then there was blokes that hadn't reached that was still wanted to, go to that next level, win the flag, and then there was some blokes that may have been content. That's just my, perception of that situation, and not being able to talk about things because you think that, the club might not. It's not even that the club doesn't support you, the PA don't support you, the AFL, because they do. It's all there. But it's whatever story you're telling yourself in your head. And mine was, they're not going to pick me if I have or open up about this problem. They made it feel safe. And there was definitely people I could have talked to, but I didn't want to reach out. I didn't want to reach out because I didn't want to, jeopardize my chance of playing, but I didn't also want to make situations like looking at myself in the mirror. I didn't want that to become real. So I didn't reach out. So the help is there, but it's also like, are you willing to ask for help?
With what you know now, what advice would you give yourself at 19 years old? If you could, sit down next to 19-year-old Brayden, might be a pretty hard thing to reflect on right now, but what would you say to yourself?
Well, there's like 2 things. So in terms of like, mate, ask for help, otherwise you'll waste your career. And that's with anything, man. Like, if you want to learn a new skill in football or work or life, like, ask for help, because you can either learn possibly in 5 or 10 minutes. If that's like, there's so many intricacies and little craft movements and body positioning in football. If you ask someone, they'll teach you like that. And then you learn it, or you can try and figure it out yourself and wonder and watch a vision for 3 months. So like, that was massive, but also you're not defined by what you look like. You're defined by who you are as a person. And that, I think, would have created so many different thoughts and beliefs in my head, because I got so fixated on my body, my skin folds, how lean I was. And mate, it literally controlled everything I did.
Yeah, tell me about that next part of your eating disorder, from being overweight to then, being underweight and, struggling with, the other side of an eating disorder. How was that to deal with?
Yeah, it was so hard because I was so fixated on like every part of my body, man. And like, I was like, what are my skin folds? I was like, I was pinching my body. Like I was like, and then I was searching up, like we'd do skin folds maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. And I was wondering like, how do I drop my skin folds in 2 weeks? Like, is there anything I can do the day, the night, or 2 days before? Like all these things. Like I was so fixated on it. And then I was like, because if I have low skin folds, then I'm an elite athlete. But there's AFL players out there that are 10 times better than I was, that have got higher skin folds than I do, performing better because I've obviously got more energy, more muscle, but I just couldn't like take it out of my head. Like it was just all locked in. And when you get into that mind frame, like everything you look at is like, is this going to put fat on me? Is this going to, and it wasn't like, is this going to help me? Is this going to fuel my body? It was like, is this going to put fat on me? And then from that, it became, well, what does Cooper, like if he's looking at me, what part of my body is he looking at? What part of my body is he judging? And then you get, feedback and positive reinforcement of, mate, you're lean. You're looking like, no, it was never really like you're looking that good. It was like, bro, you're really lean. Bloody hell, you can see your veins popping. Mate, I remember this clearly. I was doing a pull up and one of the boys said, mate, I can see like every muscle in your back. And I'm just like, yeah. But subconsciously, like I was loving it, but they didn't know that how much actually was making me even double down on more. They thought they were complimenting me. And that's what happens, especially with like men and women, when you get feedback on, maybe bits of your body and you're going through this and what some people think is positive, sometimes it reinforces a story that's not that good.
Yeah, wow.
But we obviously don't know what other people are going through. And that was so hard, like, and especially when you're getting feedback from certain people, like, mate, you've got to put some more size on, or you've got to put some more weight on, or this and that. And then you manipulate everything. Then you lie. You lie to yourself. You lie to the people you care about. Then you lie to the club. And that was really hard to deal with, man. Because I still didn't believe I had an eating disorder, a body image problem. And it consumed me. And took every part of my energy, time, because it was all around that.
Yeah, and you ended up in hospital, from the eating disorder, did you?
Yeah. So and that was...
Yeah, can you talk me through that? Because the friend of mine, Mitch Wallace, who's an incredible mental health educator, really, really good friend of mine. He's such an amazing dude. And he said something in a podcast that I did with him. He just said, the truth will set you free. Yeah. And just what you said there about like lying and trying to, cover it up and, make it out like it's all good. What was that stage? Let's talk through like the period of being delisted, finding yourself in hospital with your eating disorder and, having to, talk about it and really do something about it.
Yeah. So through that 4 years before I got delisted, the identity became basically the identity that I created from outside and from within myself then fueled the eating disorder even more, because you're a good runner, you're lean, you're fit, all this stuff, which is then fueling my idea of, okay, what I'm doing is right.
Yeah.
And then once I got delisted, like, mate, it's not to the extent of like Olympians, but like identity crisis hit hard.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
it is for you. It's your number one.
That was everything, man. And then once that was gone, I was like, what do I do? So I chased it. Like I chased the draft in November again. That didn't happen. And I was like, okay, but at this stage I was actually putting on more weight and size. Right. So I ended up getting a coach. So it was funny, bro. I went from 70 back up to 80 over this 2021 to 2022 pre-season. So I was like fit, healthy, running the best I've ever ran. And that was during 2021 was 2022 was COVID. Yeah. So you had to do top up for West Coast. And they asked me to come back and play a game. There's like 4 or 5 blokes that topped up and played because they had no players. And I remember playing that game and I played shocking, got subbed out because I built it up in my head. But what happened was 2 days before that game, I slipped back into old patterns of I got to do this, I got to do that to then perform, which all it was under fueling, all this sort of thing. And then when I played that game and I got subbed out at halftime, I just remember, like, you're not good enough. You're never going to make it again. Mate, the stories that I was telling, I just could not comprehend that my dream could be up. And that was I think that might have been March or April. And mate, then in August, I was 30 kilos underweight in the space of whatever that is, like 3 or 4 months.
Just stopped eating and
over exercise, like, and yeah, I was in hospital for 4 weeks for basically anorexia, man. And it literally happened in the space of, like 4 months. Like, it was rapid.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that going to hospital and having to go through that system and, finally, I guess, face the eating disorder that you had?
I faced it but didn't believe it still, man. It took me 2 years out of hospital to really admit what I was in there for.
Like you said, it was like the conversation we had would have been 2 years later, 2024.
Yeah.
In April's, and you said like I was one of the first people that you really opened up about what you'd gone through. Like you're like, I was actually in hospital, and like, so not many people. Did you like 3 best mates know about it?
Yeah, so it would have been. So I went into hospital on a Friday. Things like Tuesday, they said, mate, can we let's go for coffee? Oh no, it was Sunday, and then Tuesday they called me with my other mate. So Sunday, like, mate, what are you doing on Sunday morning? Let's go grab coffee. And they sat me down. They're like, mate, what's going on? What's wrong? This, mate. Nothing. I'm all good. I'm fine. Just been a bit crook lately. Just haven't been able to eat. Like, mate, it's like I'm lying again. And then on Friday, I'd been seeing a doctor a little bit because when like, mate, everything was shutting down, like organs, liver, couldn't digest food. Like I was like literally looked like I was 36 weeks pregnant, man. Like after I'd eat, because I was so bloated, all this stuff. And then on Friday, I go into the doctor on Thursday, and he goes, mate, like, you probably need to go into hospital, otherwise this and this can happen. Can I? And I'm like, mate, like, I'm fine. And they're like, mate, we can actually admit you. They've literally got a spot for you. You can go in. And I was like, mate, I'm fine. I'm not going in. He's like, all right, can I just tell your parents? And I was like, yeah, whatever, call them. And then my dad gets on the phone, my mum get on the phone, and they both cried, bro. And I was like, all right, I'll see what the doctor has to say. So the doctor from the clinic rings me. And she goes, oh, mate, all you got to do is come in on Friday lunchtime and just stay for the weekend. We'll do some tests. We'll send you out either Sunday night or Monday. And I looked and I was like, oh, it's raining on the weekend. Actually, good night. Good game of footy on tonight. Good game on Saturday. There's West Coast play Sunday. Oh, sweet. I'm laughing.
I'll go to hospital for a couple of days.
I'll go to the hospital. Well, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Man, I get in there and on Saturday morning, she comes in and she's like, how are you? Having a chat. I'm like, yeah, good. Like, what tests we got to do for me to get out? And she goes, you're not getting out here for like at least 4 weeks, mate. And I was like, what? She goes, you would never have come in. I had to lie to you. I had to lie to you because of this, this, and this, which we can get into with details. But like, she's like, you potentially, if you didn't come in here, and we got to be very careful, your body's going to shut down. You might not be here anymore. Wow. So do you want to stay here or do you want to go? And I was like, oh, I guess I'll stay. Still, mate, I still didn't believe any of it. And then
in your mind, you feel like, oh, if I just eat a bunch, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But your body couldn't, like, what was like, this, and this, that.
So it was basically like my liver was shutting down. So I went like, I was like Simpsons character.
What, you're like 60 kilos or something?
I was, I've never actually said this, bro.
Sorry.
You
don't have to.
No, I was 54 kilos, which at the time, bro.
What are you, like 6'1" or something?
Yeah, 6'1", 185, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So I was 54 and my sister was the exact same weight at the same time. And it was so I didn't tell, like it was my nan's birthday on the Sunday too. So I didn't tell anyone until that I was in there, other than my dad and my mum knew, and my stepmum. She was with dad obviously at the time, and didn't tell my brothers or anything because I was like, don't tell them until after my nan's 60th. Well, I might get in trouble there, 60 or 70th, I can't remember. Anyway, so...
If it was a 70, you should be stoked you caught it.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, don't tell anyone until after that. And then on Monday, I FaceTimed them and stuff, and mate, I remember I had to close my laptop because my sister was there. I was like, I don't want to see them like this, bawled my eyes out. And then after that, the doctor came in and said, mate, your blood tests are coming back really bad. Like, you're skyrocketing through the roof through numbers, which I can't understand what they are. But they said if your liver goes up to over 1,100 in one of the measurements, you're we booked you in for an ICU liver transplant.
Wow.
because right now your body's not handling this, and it's called refeeding now. You may cark it.
Wow.
And that was like, wow. And I heard that news, man. I was like, surely not. Like, this can't be real. And I went outside and laid down, and I couldn't pick myself up. Like, I couldn't pull myself up, and like, I had to crawl over to a chair to physically pick myself up as I was getting called in to go have morning tea. And I was like, I just gotta go to the toilet. And I remember, man, I walked in, shut my door, and looked at myself in the mirror. And I was like, if you don't want to do this for you, you got to do this for your family, because you need to fix yourself.
Wow, man.
And then from there, man, I was like dialed in. Like, I was like, let's eat, let's do this, let's do that. Like, asking for extra food. But there's so much to it. Like, and it's like, the easiest way is like, for people that know bodybuilding or know people that bodybuilding, like, they cut really hard. But man, like, when they come out of that, you got to be so careful. And it was the exact same, like, because your body's not used to it, you can overload it. Like, I was having like sugar drops where it was like 1.1, and I felt normal. And they're like, mate, you need to sit down, you need to have this. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm fine. Like, my body just adapted.
Used to it, yeah.
That's like crazy that I started to understand about the body. And then I was like, started to understand a little bit about like CBT, and from there, like, I started to really lock in. But it wasn't literally still didn't accept it and talk about, like, nobody knew, except those 3 best mates and then yourself when we went on that run. That was the first time.
That was
actually
like a year later, once you got out of hospital.
Well, when did we? That was 2 years, I
2014.
reckon.
Yeah, 2 years. So how was that 2 years until we'd spoken about it? Had you still fluctuated a bit? And
It'd gone up and down at times, in and out.
But never went back to as bad as you went, but we're still...
That was the baddest I'd ever got to. So that moment, I was 70 kilos again. When
we caught up. So you're back to,
I was falling into patterns.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until we literally had that conversation, and then you were talking about all these sick ideas you had with Good Humans on the run. And remember the toothbrush idea? I don't want to say, but
me and Cal are going to do that. I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, sorry. There's different things like, and then we had that amazing chat, bro. Like, and I was like, I just started talking, and I was like, I remember it clear where we were running and everything.
So do I. I know exactly where we were when we had that part of the conversation.
Yeah, and I was like, I literally said to you, I was like, bro, I've never said that to anyone. Like, and then you were like you said at the start, like, mate, I thank you so much, and that. And then we went, and you took me to the farmer's market, and even there, you're like, because you ran me through certain things, and you're talking about your 100K run and fueling your body, and then we went there, and I still didn't eat. And then remember that, actually. Yeah, and then like, I was hesitant to have a bloody chocolate cocoa coconut water with some coffee, because you were like, bro, you got to try this for the first time. And I was even hesitant on that because I'm like, no, there's sugar, there's this, there's that in it. So I was falling into bad ways. But that conversation that we had, and then going there, and then you showing me things about Good Humans, and I remember leaving, I got on the little Lime bike, and in that ride, I was like, damn, bro, like, you want to do what Cooper's doing, you want to have that sort of impact and help people, you've got to help yourself. And then that doubled down because I had to go and help a close mate of mine who went and did a bodybuilding contest in Brisbane, and I was helping him out with stuff through his prep and stuff, and he hit me between the eyes, man, in the shopping centre. He goes, he walked over, because I went into the shops when he was finished up his last weight session, and he just teared me to shreds, bro, and was like, mate, like, you shouldn't be this lean, you shouldn't be this and this, you need to fuel your body. He literally said, mate, you're killing yourself again. Because he's seen me when I was at my worst, and he goes, mate, you are literally killing yourself again. And then from there, he made me send him, for the next basically 6 months, every single day, bro, a food diary. Everything I was eating. But he wasn't like, you got to eat like all this food. He was like, bro, we'll build it up. And then this, and then we'll add this in, then we'll add this in, then we'll add this in. And mate, that there, in the space of 6 months, bro, I think I was backed up to like 12 kilos. And yeah, it wasn't lean, but I was like healthy, happy. It was from there, from till now, man, like, I'm not saying I'm fully recovered or I don't have these thoughts or anything like that. But that conversation with you and that conversation with him, and then him like for 6 months, like she saved my life. But that conversation with you, and it was one of the biggest turning points to like fix my life, man. And then that
I didn't even know that until now. You say
Yeah,
that, like you just don't realize
the impact of a conversation, bro. That's why these things, what you're doing, and that's why I said to you, man, because that conversation plus that with him, his name's Jackson, and then, you know, my three best mates who've always been there, and another big one's Corey Hitchcock, who moved to the Gold Coast, and that's why I was there to see him and that. And mate, he's been, you know, I met him my first year at Perth, so we've been mates for like 4 years, mate, and he's like my number one.
Sick.
And he's been through everything, and same with him, man. He was like, and it was hard for him because when it's your close mate, he's like I didn't even know what to say, man. And that's these conversations would probably lead into like, how do you ask someone, how do you follow up and that. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm fully recovered or I'm fully fixed, and but like my relationship now, it's food is fuel, man, to perform, to do my running, which I love, but also to talk, to be energized. And I honestly like to do what I want to do in my life, and that's to spread more the word that it's not just a thing that females go through, and it is something that you need to understand that men, males, young kids go through, both female and male, and it's not a stereotypical trait. It's a thing that we go through.
It's something that
it's a
goes
mental
through.
illness.
It's a human thing.
Yeah, and the hard thing about it, I know it's, you know, people to fix an eating disorder, if you're like in the area that I was, when you're underweight, for example, you've got to eat food. And that's the one thing you're so anxious and scared about, but you have to do it to then get better, you know? Like you can't take away food to get better. You have to like confront it in the eyes and be like, all right, I've got to eat you.
It's one of the hardest things as well, the like misunderstanding that people would be like, just fucking eat a burger. Like, you know, like most, you know, people love eating food, you know? So it's
literally.
like, is that the hardest thing? The misunderstanding that a lot of people might have towards it? Like, fuck, just eat a pizza, mate.
Yeah,
It's like,
there's so much misunderstanding, and there's so many comments out there that people don't even realize because we don't know what people are going through. It's like, bro, just have a chip.
Yeah.
We'll just go do this, we'll go do that. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, what do you mean you can't? I'm like, I can't do it. Or I'd make up a lie or an excuse or...
No, I've already eaten.
Yeah. Or I'd look at literally like, oh, do you want to go here for dinner? And I'd be like, menu, or no, how about we go to this place? Because I knew there was something on there that I could eat if it was like some like grilled fish and like some veggies, bro. Like it got to that point, and people just don't understand the little comments like eat this, eat a burger, or to the fact of like even people like always ask like, what are you eating? Why are you eating that? What's your diet? Like there's so many different things that we just don't understand. And also we don't understand is still people don't understand how much food fuels your body. Like you need to replenish after exercise.
Food becomes you. Like I've interviewed a few biochemists and interesting people who are like, what you eat literally makes you.
Yeah.
So we need to eat, and we need to eat, you know, things that, you know, whole foods that are healthy, that have, you know, the foundation and the building blocks to build like the humans that we are.
Yeah, like you want to run 100 Ks. Like I want to do that this year. That's one of my goals this year at the end of the year. And I'm like, you want to do that off what? Eating nothing? Like, you know, like, so for me to do what I want to do is what it comes back to now is one, I want to destigmatize male body dysmorphia and anorexia. And I've got a few cool people that are backing me in it, and we're going to do like a little event here with one of my other mates who's a psychologist who works for now ESIS, which is where my doctor that I was in hospital with has created their own clinic, which is cool. So going to work with them because it's still not talked about. Like after I shared, you know, 2 weeks or a few weeks ago on radio, the amount of men and young men that have messaged me saying they were this, I don't want to go into details, but they'd really struggled around their own body image and the way they've eaten and stuff, just doubles down on my passion to provide, you know, I'm not an expert in the field, but I've lived through it, and I just want to destigmatize that and make it normal that everyone goes through mental illness, but everyone can go through body image issues. And it's hard to comprehend sometimes still with comments that get made. around certain things. And if someone says that I'm too lean now, I'm like, oh, like, am I folding into old patterns, you know? And there's certain things that are flow-on effects from what happened so quick. But now I'm in such a healthier place physically, mentally, and my relationship with food is 10x better.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Last little segment I want to talk about. Thank you, by the way, so much for sharing all that. I'm sure this is a conversation that I definitely haven't had on this podcast before, but I'm sure so many people listening haven't really heard the perspective of a young man opening up on something like that, and a young man who, you know, has reached the top level of sport in the country. To be able to have the courage to share that, I'm like so grateful, man. I just want to talk about now what you're up to, working with the Happiness Co. Can you explain to everyone what the Happiness Co. is, how you got into working with them and the workshops? Because as I said right at the start of this chat, you're doing very similar things to me. You're going around to schools, you're educating young people on how to better take care of their mental health. So yeah, do you want to explain what the Happiness Co. is, how you connected with them and started working for them, and then a little about the workshops that you deliver for them?
Yeah, it's literally how people ask me, like, on the East Coast, like, what do you do now for work? Some people over there, I'm like, have you heard of Good Humans Factory? This is literally what I say. Like, no joking. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's what I do. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So you work with like youth and run workshops around mental health? I'm like, yeah. Like, because it's the easiest way to describe to people on the East Coast that ask what we do, you know?
Yeah.
And then people... So all we do at not all we do, but Happiness Co, obviously we're big in WA.
Charity,
yeah. So we work in multiple different areas. My main area is our youth stuff. So I do all our youth stuff. And then if we do any like wellness, like physical, like running or breath work or, cold nips collaborations, obviously, which you know the boys there, Gian and the crew. So I work in that space, plus then I run our youth program. So all of our schools, and then any extra workshops like, you know, youth footy clubs and sporting clubs. And then this year, probably the last year especially, I've dabbled more in the corporate stuff, which has been really interesting and fun. It's just a different dynamic, and it's made me learn like so much more, because I'm like, you know, how do you talk to you know 30, 40, 50-year-olds compared to talking to, you know, 12-year-olds sort of thing. So what we work with corporate, FIFO heaps, obviously WA, big FIFO. We got mental health, first aid, all that sort of stuff. But for me personally, I'm just our youth, and going to schools and sort of unpack stereotypes of masculine, feminine, and then, you know, judgment and values and self-worth, self-esteem. Where does it come from? How do we build it up? And one of my favorite things is like emotional intelligence. Like, you know, it's all the basically interpersonal skills that we don't get taught at school is something that I'm bringing along to our youth stuff. And, you know, it's so much fun, as you would know, man. Like, you go in and you talk to some kids and some students, and, you know, you have a bit of banter, a bit of back and forth, but you also teach them something that's, I guess, knowledgeable, but it's based off a lived experience, which is what Happiness Co is based off, you know, through Jules himself, who built it off the back of, unfortunately, losing his dad to taking his own life. And, you know, in my life, I've had two mates that have taken their own life. And when you go through that and see other people go through that, the pain and hurt, and then you realise the biggest stat and the biggest killer for youth under the age of 25, I'm pretty sure still at the moment is
14 to 45.
Is it now? Yeah.
14 to 45 is suicide.
Yeah, taking their own life. And I'm just like, I can't comprehend how we're still having that. And I just want to do everything I can with my time and energy to change that.
Yeah, good on you, man. And I can imagine thinking back to your story of high school, when you said sort of up until that year 10, year 11 and struggled with self-esteem, self-confidence. If someone like you came in when you were in school, do you think it would have had, you know, a little bit of a impact back when you were a kid? For sure.
Yeah, definitely. 100% I would have. And now, like, some schools are getting really good, as you've probably seen. Like, they're starting to implement like well-being periods or pastoral care.
Yeah, having external providers like us come in to, you know, give that spark of curiosity and that spark of inspiration to look at mental health through a different lens. Not that it's this mental illness, it's something we all have, and if we start to work on it, we start to see, you know, big changes.
100%. I think the more that, you know, we can hopefully get out into schools and do these things, hopefully, the more it'll become normalised as well.
Absolutely, man. Well, this has been an amazing chat. Like I said, I'm so grateful for your courage to share your story. So grateful for our friendship, and I didn't really realize the impact that that conversation we had last year had. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with me and the community. I do finish I do finish Good Humans podcast with the same question for everyone, and dare I say, I'm sure you've probably listened to one or two episodes, so you probably know what you're about to get. So, what does being a good human mean to Brayden Ainsworth?
To me, man, it's something that I tell myself every morning. It's just being a genuine, kind, empathetic dude that just wants to make the world or someone else's day better. And that's what being a good human means to me. It's just being kind, being genuine, being empathetic, because you don't know what someone else is going through. And if you can be that, then I believe kindness is so infectious. And if you be kind to someone, it's going to flow into everyone else's day that you may not even meet. So that's what a good human means to me. And that's why I tell myself that every morning. And yeah, I did know it was coming, so I prepared myself for it. But mate, I just want to say, firstly, this is not a plug to you, but another thing that's been really good is your 1% club that you've created. And if no one is on that, jump on that, because it's unreal. It's just the things that you're doing, mate. I think needs to be spread more, and I can't wait to see the next 6 months with conversations we've had, and then get my hands on something to have a little read through, which is exciting as well. And
everyone knows about the book.
They know about the book. I didn't want to drop that on there, so I can't wait to read the book and keep developing our friendship and hopefully do some things in the future together. But mate, thank you. It was a privilege, grateful, and to everyone that listens to your stuff, mate. I know that you would have had a massive impact on them. So thank you.
No, thanks, brother. Well, I'll leave everything in the show notes if you want to learn more about Brayden. Instagram will be in there if you want to reach out. I'm sure if you have anything going on in your life, especially when it comes to eating disorders, if you need to have a conversation, I know Brayden will be well and truly putting his hand up to write back to you and get in touch. So I'll put his Instagram in the show notes. I'll put Happiness Co. if you want to learn more about Happiness Co. in the show notes. And is there anything I didn't ask you? Any final remarks you want to leave the audience with?
No, man. I'll leave one message that I always leave my workshops. It's don't be who someone wants you to be who you want to be, because you only get one life and you only can use so much time and energy. So don't waste it being who others want you to be. Use it to be who you want to be.
Very well put. Well, thank you so much for coming on Good Humans Podcast.
Cheers, bro.